you guys realized you all went from, other than Alexi, of course, but you went from high school to college and then just kind of into life, and you didn't want to get bogged down with life, and that was kind of the reason you took that first big trip, right?
Yeah, there were a number of different smaller reasons, and everyone had their own kind of thing. But the one that really resonates with me the most, and what I think is the biggest one, was Riker was at the bar, and he wasn't anymore just the DJ. He became the entertainment manager, and he started getting more and more, locked into this job. And he was now going in day shifts to like line up different bands and artists to come and perform and do things or whatever at the bar. And he was like, this is turning into a career, and like I'm making good money doing it, but at the same time, like I don't want to be stuck here in this job from now for the next 10, 15, 20 years. He's like, I need to go travel, I need to see the world, I need to just scratch this itch of mine that is like what's on the other side of the world. So it was his rationale that really got me to be like, yeah, well, I'm personally not worried about getting stuck in a career right now. I'm just bartending here, but I also would love to go travel. I want to see the other side of the world. I want to go to Australia. When my brother finished high school, before he did university, he went to Australia. And so I was like, Australia is sweet. They speak English. It's the other side of the world. It's hot, beaches. Like, why not? There's no reason why not. And so it was just because like we wanted to not get stuck in our careers before going and seeing the world. So we're like, let's do it. We booked tickets to, uh, well, we were about to book tickets to Australia. We didn't actually book them yet.
And then so what was supposed to be a trip to Australia, you guys were supposed to move there, get jobs, and kind of travel around Australia. Ended up being a trip that never once made it to Australia, right?
That's correct. Things kept changing and adjusting along the way, that our initial plan never came to fruition at all.
Yeah. And so first country was India, right? Because your friend got married or had someone, a relative was getting married or something like that.
Yep. So my friend, Indian, really close friend, good guy, always at the bars with us on our weekday weekend parties. His cousin was getting married, and it's an Indian wedding is a pretty big thing, especially compared to North American weddings. So it was a 4-day event. It was going to be massive. I don't know what the family had lined up in terms of like big event space and blah blah blah, but it was going to be huge, and they knew it. And so he goes, well, dude, my family knows of your guys' video, and they think it's funny, and they speak that same language, so like obviously they've shared it around. I think they'd love to have you guys out if you wanted to start your trip in India and get a big step across the world before you go to Australia, and just start there. And like I'll go with you, and we can do a month and just like travel India. So we're like, yeah, what we were on the decision of like, why say no to anything? Let's go for it. It's a new opportunity. We have no idea what to expect, but we've got like a tour guide with us, a guy who can speak the language and has been to India before. Let's go for it. So we started in India. We did the wedding. Then we just continued to travel around. We went up to the Himalayas, and we're like, well, this is really cool. This is crazy. Let's see what this is all about. And funny enough, we would see people in the Himalayas who were like speaking Russian. We saw people in the south in Goa who were speaking Russian, and like Alexi speaks Russian, so that helped. Like now Russian was the main like language that we had to utilize to communicate with people. It's super strange, but this is the part of learning of like, well, we don't know this culture here. We don't know what the setup is and what kind of people are around. So like this is us learning. We were super ready to learn everything and anything that the world had to teach us.
And probably didn't plan to get salmonella at the wedding, though, right?
Oh man, he's good. He's good. No, I had. I mean, I'm a meat eater. I love chicken and stuff, and frankly, I love anything that's food. But at one point, my buddy Arjun, who we were there with, he was like, "You know what? I think the chicken's undercooked. I just gave the chefs a really hard time, but like, don't eat any more of that chicken." And so I'm like, "Okay, like, I'll probably be fine." It was too late for me already. Like later in that evening, I was just like, "Man, I really don't feel good. I feel queasy." Face was flushed and white, and ended up having to remove myself for a while because I couldn't keep anything down for a bit. That was a tough 24 hours.
I can imagine, yeah. And so you said from India was to the Himalayas, then from the Himalayas was to Thailand, I believe.
Thailand was next, yeah. So as we were getting ready to book our flights out of India, we were like, well, is there anywhere else we want to go, like closer than Australia? Like, Thailand was a big one because we had heard Thailand is the place to go if you want really cool, cheap knockoff stuff. It's more, hot, humid beaches, islands, like really cool place. We knew some people who had traveled there and had an awesome time and spoke nothing but good about Thailand. So we're like, yeah, let's go check it out. Like it sounds amazing. So that was next on our list. And once we hit Thailand, we met enough people that were like, oh yeah, we're just finishing up like the circuit. We're like, what's the circuit? And they're like, oh yeah, you can just go from Thailand down to Cambodia, across to Vietnam, and then up to Laos, and then back to Thailand. And you just do those 4 countries. That's the circuit. We're like, okay. And like, obviously, we're talking to them about what they've got in their stories of like, how was this place? How was this place? And they're giving us like all this information about, oh, okay, when you're in the south of Cambodia at Sihanoukville, like, don't go to Serendipity Beach, go to Otris Beach and try to stay here. And you'll see, and like, more information than we knew what to do with. So like I get my little diary book out that I brought with me and I'm just journaling everything that these people are saying. And so I had like this breakdown of how to do the circuit. And then that's what we started to do. So we actually overstayed our time in Thailand by a couple of days, and we had to pay a little bit of extra on the way out because we weren't allowed to stay that long. But we were having the best time of our lives for sure.
The intent behind the trip, like you guys weren't going to make it a business at the time, right? Like that wasn't the plan. Like it kind of happened after the trip when you got home and you realized people started kind of tuning in more and more for the travel content, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything that we were doing at first was just like, let's do this for fun. I want to try something new. Hey, this is a good place to try and make some clothing, some shirts. Like, let's just see what happens. I don't mind dropping a few $100 here and there. Like, all of us drop a $200 and we get, however many items of clothing. And then one day we just kind of like put up an ad on I don't know if it was on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever, but we're like, hey, we've got some swag now. Like, check it out if you want. You can buy it. And, overnight we sold like 2 or 3. And we were like, holy crap. Like, we actually just made some money. Like, people actually are buying this stuff or people like this. Like, how crazy. And so then we started to maybe push it a little more, promote it. And then now we're wearing our shirts in all of our videos and our tank tops and doing tricks and flips and like doing what we can, I guess, to promote it and show people like you can have these shirts too. Like, this is a new thing we're trying out. Like, let us know what you think. And so it turned into something. It was a slow start, obviously, but like we're testing the waters with all these different things.
Mm-hmm. And then so after the circuit, because you did the full circuit, right? And
Did the
then you
full
went
circuit.
up to Ukraine, I believe, right? And that was during the Euro Cup. Was when you were
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
And then do you have some good stories about Euros? Is that what that smile was for?
No, the smile is just how well like, I've never met you before. I've never spoken to you before, but you know my life for the last like 15 years. So it's funny to hear. It's interesting. I'm honored.
Oh,
I'm
thank you. I
flattered.
did. For the record, this isn't like information I just walk around with like a part of my day-to-day life. Like I did do a ton of research, so I was prepared coming into this. Like I'm not, just like if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have had no idea, but it's
Okay,
been
cool.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, though, like you're really picking, like you're fine tuning your information. You've got it down. You've really nailed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But where I was going with, so when you got to Europe, the traction had really started to grow on social, and then you guys got picked up by Kentucky, right? And that was kind of your first exposure to the life of travel influencers, for lack of a better term.
Yep. Nope. That's yeah. You're setting this up beautifully for me. So we got an email from Kentucky saying, hey, you know what? We love what you guys are doing. We love the videos. We noticed that you guys are traveling. You're on the road. You've been in, 5 different countries in the last 3 months or 4 months or whatever. How would you like to come on a tour with us? It's going to be a media trip. And we're like, well, I don't know what a media trip is or what that means, but absolutely, we would love to do anything that you're offering for us. We're going to say yes to all of these opportunities. So we go on this trip. It was a 1 week through Budapest, Vienna, Prague. And we were with a bunch of other, you can call them influencers now, but that term was not coined back then. No one knew what an influencer was. So some people were working with TV productions. Some people were bloggers. Other people were doing YouTube as well. And we just basically had this big coach full of people who were posting and creating content for the internet in one facet or another. And that was like our introduction to this world. And so Kentucky put us up on that trip and we had such a good time. Everything was taken care of for us. Hop on the bus, the tour guide tells you where we're going, what we're doing, what this is all about, the history behind this place and this building. Let's go do this fun activity. Or we're in Hungary, let's go to this spa because these sea salt baths are like really famous here, and let's go out for dinner here and have this really nice viewpoint dinner. And like, it was the good life. Like we'd never really had a hookup like that before, where we're just so well taken care of. And money is not an issue because this company is a, a company that's been around for a long time and they're successful. So then the 1 week is up and we were about to leave or to head home or to figure out where we're going to go to next. But they actually intercepted us and were like, would you guys be interested in doing another trip and making more videos and content for our brand? And we're like, yes, we would love to do another trip. This one was in Greece. It was an island hopping tour. And we're going to actually be on the trip with people who were paying to travel, not to create content or anything. So it was going to be a little different. So they, gave us a heads up like, hey, you can't just stick a camera in anyone's face because these people didn't sign up for that. So like, please be delicate and careful around who you're doing what with. And anyways, sure enough, we show up on the trip and no one's got a problem with it. We're big energy people with cameras and doing flips, so everyone's kind of already like, oh, I want to do what they're doing. I want to go hang out with these guys because they seem like a ton of fun. And we're just living our best lives for that trip. And that was another 2 weeks hopping around Greece until finally that trip ended, and we kind of were like, well, let's pop over to Italy for a bit because Italy looks cool, and hey, maybe we'll do a little stint in Germany. But now we're super broke. We've got no money left. Like, we had saved up as best we could leading up to that whole thing, and Kentucky obviously was able to keep us floating around a lot longer on a budget. But like, now we're broke. Like, our credit cards are starting to build up debt, and it's like, hey, we got to go home and get jobs like everyone else.